There's a reason old-timers call the 357 Magnum the cartridge that never got the memo it's supposed to be obsolete. 80-plus years old, built before plastic pistols existed, and it's still outrunning half the ammo on gun store shelves today. But here's what almost nobody tells you. This round wasn't designed for target shooting or bragging rights. It was built because cops were losing gunfights they should have won, and the story of how that got fixed says a lot about what actually stops a threat and what doesn't. If you've ever shopped for a revolver, a lever-action carbine, or even a home defense setup, you've probably run into the gunman 357 Magnum and wondered if it's overkill, outdated, or actually the smartest option on the table. Stick around, because by the end of this you'll understand exactly why this cartridge refuses to die, and why in some very specific situations, it's still the best tool for the job, better than plenty of guns released this year. Let's go back to Prohibition-era America. Bootleggers and bank robbers were driving steel-bodied cars and occasionally strapping on crude body armor. Police officers were carrying .38 special revolvers that could barely dent a car door, let alone stop a determined criminal behind one. Law enforcement had a problem, and it wasn't a small one. Officers were getting outgunned in the street. So in 1934, a small group of people decided to fix it. Elmer Keith, a rugged cartridge experimenter out west, teamed up with technical writer Phil Sharp and Douglas Wesson, president of Smith & Wesson and grandson of its founder. Together they lengthened the .38 special case, loaded it to much higher pressure, and created something new. They called it the .357 Magnum. Now here's where it gets interesting. This wasn't just a slightly hotter .38. The 357 Magnum nearly doubled the velocity of the .38. .38 special, and close to tripled its muzzle energy. That's not an incremental upgrade. That's a completely different level of performance from what looks, at a glance, like the same size cartridge. And because the cases were built to the same basic dimensions, any gun chambered for .357 Magnum could also safely fire the milder .38 Special. One gun, two very different levels of power, depending on what you loaded into it. Word got out fast. On April 8, 1935, FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover personally received one of the first factory .357 Magnum revolvers built by Smith & Wesson. Special Agent Frank Baumann, the Bureau's firearms expert, helped push the round into FBI use and even designed a sight specifically for it that's still used today. Departments across the country, from Kansas City to the New Hampshire State Police, started ordering the new revolvers, and it wasn't just law enforcement. General George S. Patton carried an ivory-handled .357 Magnum through World War II and reportedly called it his killing gun. But most people get one thing wrong about why this cartridge mattered so much. It wasn't really about raw stopping power on paper. It was about penetration. The .357 Magnum could punch through the sheet metal of a car door and still carry enough energy to be lethal to whoever was hiding behind it. That's the exact problem it was built to solve, and it solved it better than anything else available at the time. Now, once you understand why it was built, the next question is obvious. Did it actually stay relevant, or is this just nostalgia? Here's the part that surprises people. The FBI kept using .357 Magnum-capable revolvers all the way into 1981, when they adopted the Smith & Wesson Model 13, the last revolver the Bureau ever issued before switching fully to semi-automatic pistols. Field agents loaded them with .38 Special plus P for everyday carry, but kept foam .357 Magnum rounds like the 145-grain Winchester Silvertip in reserve for when they needed more. That dual-load flexibility is really the secret to why this cartridge has survived so long. You're not locked into one power level. Load it down with standard .38 Special for low recoil practice, or load it up to full Magnum pressure when you actually need the performance. Most cartridges don't give you that kind of range. This one always has. But the story doesn't stop at revolvers, and this is where a lot of people miss the bigger picture entirely. The same case that made the .357 Magnum a legendary sidearm round also happens to be a phenomenal rifle cartridge, specifically in lever-action carbines. Take something like chambered in .357 Magnum and .38 Special. It runs both loads through the same tube magazine without a hiccup. Fire standard .38 Special out of that rifle, and the recoil is so mild it barely registers. Load full-power .357 Magnum, even heavy 100 rounds, and you still get a manageable, shoot-all-day level of recoil, especially compared to a snub-nosed revolver, where that same round can feel like it's trying to twist the gun out of your hand. And the accuracy numbers back it up. In formal testing, that Henry Big Boy put 5-shot groups under an inch at 100 yards with the right ammunition. That's rifle-grade precision out of a cartridge most people only associate with belt-carry revolvers. Add a longer barrel to the equation, and you're squeezing meaningfully more velocity and energy out of the exact same round. So here's where it all comes together. You get a cartridge that can be loaded mild enough for a nervous first-time shooter, or hot enough to have once been the FBI's go-to answer for stopping a threat behind cover. You get one ammunition box that feeds both your revolver and your rifle, which matters more than people realize when ammo becomes hard to find. And you get a caliber proven across nearly a century of real-world law enforcement and field, not just marketing claims from the last product cycle. That's not nostalgia. That's a cartridge that earned its reputation the hard way, through actual gunfights and actual field results, and never really needed to prove itself twice. So next time someone tells you that .357 Magnum is an old man's cartridge, remember where it came from. It was built by people solving a real, dangerous problem, adopted by the FBI for nearly 50 years, carried by a 4-star general into combat, and it's still putting sub-inch groups on paper out of modern lever guns today. Few cartridges in history can say that. If you're building out a revolver, picking your first lever-action carbine, or just trying to understand why this round refuses to fade away, now you know exactly why it's stuck around this long, and why it's not going anywhere soon. If you want to go deeper into the handguns and rifles built around this cartridge, the next video breaks down exactly which .357 Magnum revolvers and carbines are worth your money right now. Go check that one out next.